Hi everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm going to show you how to make this ring. It's a cabochon ring. Here's what it looks like. So if you want to see how to make this ring, then just keep watching. Starting with 3 pieces of 20 gauge wire that are 10 inches long. I'm using Parawire silver plated wire. It is dead soft copper that's been plated with silver. And then I'm using the same thing but 26 gauge for my weaving wire. The cabochon that I'm going to be using in this ring is a 10mm cabochon. This is a little piece of amethyst. You can use different shapes and sizes. This technique will still apply. This is just what I happen to be using. So the first thing I'm going to do with these 3 wires is I'm going to try and find the center of them by bending them a little bit. So here's my center. We're going to be creating a frame around the stone. So if you put the stone right in the center, and this is the top, this is kind of the side. So I'm going to hold it here. I'm going to separate my wires a little bit so I can weave around them. I'm taking my weaving wire. You can use 28 gauge as well, by the way. They'll both work well. So I'm holding it here on the back with my fingers so that it stays in place. And then I am bringing it up, so that made just like one little loop. But that's not the pattern I'm going to do. That's just to secure my wire. So now I'm bringing it from the back to the front, right under this top wire. And I'm bringing it all the way down, and then back, and again from back to front, right underneath that top wire. So what that looks like is 2 wraps around the bottom 2 wires. Now I'm bringing it all the way up, and I'm bringing it over the top 2 wires, and then underneath this middle wire, or above this bottom wire. So basically it looks like a loop over the top 2 wires, and I'm going to do that again for another loop around the top 2 wires. And I'm going back to the bottom 2. 1, 2 around the bottom 2, and then again 1, 2 around the top 2. So that's the pattern that I'm going to be following. Here's a little close-up of the pattern, and I'm going to do this until it is long enough to cover the perimeter of my stone, but just ever so slightly smaller, because the little window or frame that we're going to be making, you want it to be just a little smaller than the stone so it doesn't pop out of it. And once you have woven a long enough piece, what you want to do is just start bending it around your stone like I did here. The easiest way to do this is to lay it on a flat surface and just bend it around it. And this little tail end here that we started with, you can just cut that off. And you can use some pliers to pinch down that little end so it doesn't stick up and it doesn't feel sharp. So once this is just the right size where your stone doesn't pop through it, what you want to do is you want to line up these wires, and we have 6 wires here. So you want to line them up next to each other, and you want to weave around all 6 of them. So what you want to do now is we're going to continue doing a pattern that goes 2, 2, 2 with the 6 wire. So my wire happens to be right here, kind of in the middle. So what I'm going to do is weave around the next 2 wires, which are the 3rd and 4th from the top, but it depends on where your weaving wire ends up. Now I'm going down and wrapping around the next 2 wires. And now I am wrapping around the very bottom 2 wires. And now I'm going back up, so I'm wrapping around the third and second wire from the bottom. Now I'm wrapping around the third and fourth wires from the bottom, the fourth and fifth, and the fifth and sixth. So this is going to look like little V's. It's going to go down and up, down and up. And you want to do this until the ring is the right size that you want. Here's my ring mandrel. So if I put this on a size that I want and I start bending it around, once these wires reach the other side, that is when you want to stop. So once it's long enough to make the ring in the size that you need, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap a few times around this very bottom wire so my wire doesn't unravel. It's a little more secure than having it, wrap around the two. And then I will cut it. Then I will pinch it down, that little end. Now you want to separate your wires into two on the sides and then two in the center. And you're going to need some sort of needle tool, like the one I have here. I think this is a tool actually meant for polymer clay, but they have all kinds of purposes. I think this is also used in leather work, so some sort of needle that you can use. And then you're going to find the center of your little frame right up here. And I'm just going to open this up a little bit. Going to find two spots. So for me it's going to be here and here that are a little bit, apart from each other, but they're right in the center. So if this is the center, I'm picking one little spot on the right of the center and one little spot on the left of the center. And then I'm using my needle tool to push right between the base wires. So I'm going to push them apart. So just kind of gently twist that in there. Make sure that your finger is not in the way, so when the needle comes out the other end, it's not going to go into your finger. And this takes a little bit. There you can see it starting to open up. And what I want is for that hole to be large enough to put one of my base wires through. So right now it is large enough for that. And now I'm going to do the one right next to it right here. So once you have those two holes made, you can reshape your ring. And if this got a little bit bent out of shape, you can put your stone in and just kind of push it around the stone, because what will happen is sometimes this part will push down, causing these edges to stick up. So once it's reshaped, what you're going to do is you're going to take these two wires and you're going to put one through each of these holes like this. And you can use your pliers to help you pull them through. So I would put both through first before you tighten them all the way. And then once both are through, then I would work on using my pliers to tighten that up. Alright, so once the wires are through there and they're tight, you want to put in your stone. And we have one of these wires on one side, one on the other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap each one around the band of the ring to secure them. So here's one, and then here's the other one. You can either crisscross or just wrap one next to each other. My wires do crisscross right there. Alright, so now those are secure, and your stone, I don't know how well you can see, your stone in there is secure. So now we have these ends. I'm going to put these two wires here in the center, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them, leaving myself little ends here so that I can make a loop. And same thing with these. I'm going to make loops with these as well. So I'm just grabbing them with my round nose pliers, and I'm making a loop, mostly to cover up this area here. Like that. And then here, and you can do this however you want. Maybe you prefer your loops here to go in the other direction. This is where you can kind of get creative. But I'm just laying mine down kind of flat on my ring band. Okay. Just going to use my pliers to gently press those down. Being careful not to press too hard to scratch the wire. You can also try your ring on at this point. See how it fits. You can put it on your ring mandrel. This will help reshape it if it got a little bent out of shape. So mine is about a 6.5, which is what I was going for. It may, the little stone may kind of make your ring slightly smaller. If you're, especially if your stone is thick, so you want to account for that. If you have a thick stone, you want to make your band a little longer. But yeah, that's perfect. And my stone is really secure in here, but if your stone happens to not be, you can bend these little wires a little bit, and sometimes that will help as well secure it further. It'll tighten up the wires, and then also you can, change the placement of them so they hold your stone better. So now we just have these two wires, and what I'm going to do with those is I am going to make more decorative little curls. You could weave around them. Actually, that is what I'm going to do first before I make the curls, is I'm going to take my weaving wire and I'm just going to coil around them, just so it looks different from these curls, just for decoration. So I'm going to go until this is a little longer, maybe to right here, and I have room to make the curl. I'm going to do that on both. I'm going to trim off the little ends of my wire and pinch those ends down with my pliers so they don't stick up and poke you into the finger. So I'm going to cut them, giving myself just a little room here to grab that wire to make the curl. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my round nose pliers and make that little decorative curl. All right. All right, so that's it. That's the finished ring. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.